This is part 3 of the day my father died. A little backstory in case you haven't tuned into the first 2 videos. My mother was married 5 times, a widow 3 times. My biological father, who did manage to get away from her with his life, did tell me that she tried to poison him. I think I have to say allegedly. He ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. This would have been back in 1967. So whatever she did to him was not detectable. Fast forward years later, I have 3 stepfathers that died. One I didn't know well. I wasn't there when he died, but there's definitely some circumstances around how she told my daughter about that are shady. My second stepfather that died of cancer. I wasn't there, but I do have it on good authority. And this stepfather that died, I was there. The inconsistencies in the timeline in the police report really tell a huge story. The day that the police came to investigate, I was in the house and they never knew that I was there. And eventually I was removed from the house by my mother very quickly. And her and my brother both lied to the police and said they were the only ones present in the household that day. I want you to pay attention to the timeline because in the police own's hands, they never questioned it. It's like they just wrote it all down and really didn't pay attention to what was going on. And I'm hoping you have the same questions I have. And even more than that, I'm hoping that there's some true crime person out there who wants to help get justice for my stepfather. I've said this before, this is not about me being vindictive. I have a lot of things that I should be vindictive about. This isn't that. This is about a beautiful man whose life was taken at the age of 47, who deserved better and deserves justice. So my mother told the police that she was picked up at the airport at 12:30. The ride from the airport, this is in Miami, so there's traffic, but keep in mind this is 1978, so it's not like it is now. There is traffic. So without traffic, the drive would be 38 to 40 minutes. Let's say there was a bit of traffic, maybe an hour. Pretty rare. Did he pick her up and did she have her bags already and that sort of thing? Probably not. Likely, my father would have parked the car, as was his habit, go in, wait for the bags while she was coming in, retrieve them, and gotten into the car. So let's say they left the airport at 1. They would have gotten back to the house no later than 2 o'clock. If they left at 12:30, they would have been back at the house at 1:30. She said that they didn't get home until 2:30. So minimally, that's a 30-minute period that's unaccounted for, but I suspect they got there at 1:30. She said that when they arrived in the house, that the house was in complete disarray or a general disarray. My mother was a tyrant and she was in control of everything in our household. We also had a housekeeper who was off that day and she was a live-in, so it was kind of weird that she wasn't in the house and not sure why she wasn't there. And even if the house had fallen in some sort of disarray during the time my mother was gone, she was gone for 3 weeks, including my birthday, which was pretty usual because she didn't care about my birthday. I'm 12 years old. You should care about your child's birthday, so that's why I pointed it out. I'm not whining about it now. The house would have been ready for her, spot clean. My mother used to destroy my closets. If a shirt, or she would wrinkle the shirt over and make me clean it up. If I was the one sweeping the floors that day because she wanted me to, we had a housekeeper. She would check behind the doors. She would make me scrub sinks and toilets and the whole 9 yards. And no, I wasn't Cinderella. I'm trying to make a point. The point is that my mother was one of those white glove test kind of people, and we lived in fear of her. So the house would not have been in disarray or in any way, like nothing would have been out of place with her coming home that day and us knowing she's coming home. She said that there were unpaid bills in the house that she discovered, one being the electric bill being unpaid. So she's also painting it like my father wasn't working and that money was suffering. Maybe money was suffering, but if it was, then why were you still taking shopping trips to New York? And how could you afford to be away on a vacation for 3 weeks? Additionally, the bills went to my father's office, and we still had the office. And my stepfather was ultra responsible. He was a pretty meticulous man, and not in that sort of like controlling way, but more in that straight arrow, responsible way. Yet there were unpaid bills in the house. The police don't talk about seeing those bills. They don't say, we found them in the bedroom here or there, but they document a lot about the bedroom. So where were the bills? I don't know. She saw the bills and a fight started. And during that fight, so now it would have been, if they got home at 2:30, by the time they settled in the house and discovered the bills, let's say it's 2:45 for argument's sake. They're having a fight and he's threatening suicide. And she tells the police, I didn't take it seriously. He had done this a million times before. Well, when I would hear them fight and I would hear the contents of their fight, I never once, I'm not saying he didn't, but I never once heard him threaten any self-harm or harm to her, ever. Not once, not ever. The police would know this if they had questioned me, but they didn't know I was in the house. So they get home at 2:30, they have this big fight, and she tells the police officer that at 2:45, and this is the time they document, he was walking around the house with a bottle of gin. She said that she called her father, or no, she doesn't say she called him, my bad. She said she went to her father's office, my grandfather, for a loan and stayed there for 10 minutes. So at 2:45, she left the house, goes to the office, stays 10 minutes, comes back. The office is 6 minutes away from the house. So there's 12 minutes, a 10-minute conversation, 22 minutes. So in those 22 minutes, as he was walking around the house with a bottle of gin, threatening suicide, by the time she got home, she noticed that he was laying on the bed, passed out. If he took pills, would it happen that fast? Maybe. He had diabetes, so that's, a factor. But would he have gone into the bed and laid down to, I don't know. I don't understand how, if he was taking an overdose, it was so quick. The police didn't question this. The police didn't question why he was passed out and why she made that reference. And that he was snoring very loudly. So I arrive home between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. I get out of school at 3, so that would have been about the time frame. And I remember arriving home being happy about it because I saw my father's car in the driveway, and he wasn't usually home at that time of day. He actually did work. So I'm always excited to see him. And I was also very happy because we had had 3 weeks on our own. And those 3 weeks, whenever my mother was out of town, were easy. They were without abuse. It was just like a normal daily life, as I didn't come to know it outside of those moments. My daily life was filled with anxiety and abuse and walking around on eggshells. When I got home, I could see my father in the middle of the bed, and he had his suit pants on. His feet were hanging off the edge of the bed. His head was halfway this way, and I could hear him snoring. And he wasn't somebody who snored. Occasionally, but not usually. Anyway, I went to run into the bedroom to say hello to him, and my mother came out of the bathroom. She was half unpacking, and she did one of these, and she pushed me out of the room without physically touching me, as if to say, he's sleeping, don't disturb him. Marnie, come in here right now. Yes, Mom? We're leaving your dad. He's not making any money, so we're leaving. Okay. Okay, go back to your room and shut the door.